Welcome to Rauta and welcome to Germany. For the first time in Rauta's history, we're actually doing a German black metal festival here, Acherontic Arts IV, and done by Van Records. So here we are, a bunch of Van Records bands to interview today. And today we'll start actually with a couple of bands playing at this very event. Before we start mentioning that, we'll introduce the guests of today. Sir, please state your name. Who are you and why are you here with me? Meaning, what are your bands?
So, probably first of all, we welcome you to Germany. We welcome you to Acherontic Arts Festival of Van Records. And my name is Singultus, and my duty for this weekend is playing in a band which is by former members of Nagelfar. I'm doing a show with Endstille and I'm doing a show with Morast, which my comrade here is with me.
What about you, sir?
Hi, thank you for having us. First of all, my name is Ron. I'm the bass player of Morast, and we are happy to be here, I guess, and have a drink and have a neat talk with you.
Well, that's a pleasure. Pleasure is all mine. Nice to have you, gentlemen, here. First, let's start with you, Ron. Let's start describing what is Morast all about. What kind of a band it is in the first place?
Morast is actually, most people would call us like a death doom band or a black and doom band, which is probably the genre we fit the most in. But I think we're a bit above that all because we have like different influences. Going a bit to even Killing Joke to some parts, which is important to me. I think the most important part is that we try to be dark and deep. What do you say, Zingultus?
Yeah, probably. I don't know the English word for Morast, which
Morast?
is Morast. It's Morast in English as well. Okay, probably that's the best description for the band as well, because it's deep. It's a slumber, and it's a slumber of really bad emotions, especially on our last album called Fentanyl. And there was a lot of loss in the band in the last time which we tried to get into this album, and that's probably the name itself just says it all.
But you also have these triple duty things because you're with Endstille and Nagelfar. First of all, let's start Nagelfar. That band has been dissolved so many years ago, but suddenly here we are to witness this German black metal thing.
Probably it still is. It's not a reunion or something. It was an idea, a private idea, to do a show with Sven of Van Records, who was doing the bass back then in the 90s, in the early 90s. He's the first bass player of Nagelfar, and all the theme of Nagelfar is based on Sven's idea. And so he got married on last year, and for his wedding fest, his wife couldn't see him on stage. So as a present for her, we just thought about doing this as a present for the wedding. Wow. And we started rehearsing, and we know each other for more than 30 years, you know.
That's a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just recognized while doing the rehearsals that the stuff is still very deep for us, and there's more than just the songs and stuff. And we just recognized that something when we rehearse, we can fix, not fix, we can solve the friendship, which is still there. Everybody is raising up, and you don't have that much time back then, like when you're 18 or whatever. We just recognized there's not that much time to join the friendship anymore, and so this was a point when we started. Okay, this is more than just playing Nagelfar songs. So we continued. We just continued rehearsing without any aims or whatever. And by any time we do a show there and here, but we never use the name Nagelfar because there's someone missing, our old guitar player, which is not involved in this stuff. And so it's just people who wear Nagelfar. It's not Nagelfar anymore. You can't be the same guy which you have been when the band disbanded in 25 years ago. You know? So it won't have any authentics to do or to say we are Nagelfar now.
So this is more like the sequel in a way.
We tribute ourselves.
Okay, well
kind of this, you know.
Okay, that's a nice way to put it, actually.
Actually, yeah. And you know, there's an heritage, and we try to do it the best way we can do, without disuse the name Nagelfar.
Okay.
It's not a commercial prime or something.
Yeah,
We're not into business or something. It's just something which we do for us, you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
And sometimes there's a time when we can give it to other people as well.
All right. And then there's finally Endstille.
Endstille, yeah, right. Yeah, what should I say about Endstille? We're
These
doing
are
a show,
these are all quite different style of bands. Essentially, I mean, even Nagelfar is black metal. It's very, very different.
Yeah, sure. Because I don't want to cover myself. So,
yeah, of course.
That's why I choose the bands which I'm in. As I said, I don't want to repeat myself. I try to fix an own voice, an own style in my singing for every band I do. Even those bands back then, which I was in, like Graupel and Raven, for example, if you compare my vocals on all these bands, hopefully they are different by every time. And otherwise it would be boring for me to repeat it.
Okay, yeah, I get it. But you have so many bands, like on top of these three bands, you have all those, like you mentioned, Graven, which hasn't really been that active for a long time of the year, but
Right.
but there are still these other bands. So how can you, I don't know, how can you find time for all these different bands, different outlets of music?
It's not about time, it's about passion. If you really want to do it, you can do it.
But are there like some kind of, I don't know, priorities, like choosing which band to play with and all, or is it just something that happens naturally?
It depends on, you know. Of course, by every release for this time, that band is a priority, you know. And if I look back for more than 30 years of a career, I never had this point when a release was on the same time with one band and another, you know. So probably you can do whatever you want to do by time. Everything is by time.
All right, fair enough. Which points us back to you. What about your different endeavors with the bands, past, present, I don't know, future maybe? How does it go for you?
Well, first of all, it's a friends thing as well, which is pretty important to me because I'm friends with Jens. When we started the band, he asked me to join. We never did music together. Jens is the guitar player. And we thought we should probably do something together, and we had like the same approach to the kind of music we wanted to do, coming from like slightly different background of music. And we became close friends with Singultus and with Leo. And I think, which is quite interesting, in this band, it's even more like than a band. Although we don't meet each other like every day or something.
Yeah, of course.
But we became very close, and we all had our issues we had to go through, and we all uplifted us in some way. Although we do music which is not pretty uplifting.
Yeah.
But rather deep. But it was like a catharsis to some extent to do like this kind of music, and to especially to go on stage and perform it live it's an important part of the whole thing. And I think we function quite good together as a band which is more like friends than just a band.
Yeah.
And we don't have any commercial goals. Never had, never thought about it, but just needed the way to express ourselves with the music, and to meet each other. And I think that's the most important driver of the band.
Now, talking of live and playing music like live is of course different than making the new tracks and recording and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which one you personally prefer more, live situation or making new songs? And
Always,
recording?
ever, and I do music since like my early teens and recorded, but it's always live. It's always the live situation. I have to admit, probably some people will hate me for this, but I really enjoy the live situation because I can forget myself to some extent.
It's kind of escapism.
It
in a
is
way.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
Now, when I was checking out the whole, the artist list for the whole event and all that stuff, I realized there are lots of bands which actually almost never, maybe never, played in Finland or even in other festivals where I've been going, and I guess a lot of audience right there know that we do go to a lot of festivals. However, I have never seen Morast being part of, at least in the lineups what I've seen, like Nordic countries, it's not exactly well known, but here you are, second to last in the evening, so bigger player. Why do you think that is it a kind of a local thing, like in scope of Germany or Central Europe, or what's the deal with Morast not being that much of a global thing?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's because we don't play that often. Because we can't, because Singultus already explained that we all have our lives and we all are not teenagers any longer, and have like families and have issues to deal with, and that's probably the part of it. Because, and as I said, we have no commercial goals, so we pick and choose what we are doing, even the festivals and the shows we play. So it's maybe because we are not as driven as to be on top of the extreme metal scene, because that's not our way. Because all of us we come from underground places, like underground music, underground scenes, probably not the same, what not.
Yeah.
And so that's probably we do have a different approach to some extent. Even I don't want to badmouth other bands.
Yeah, of course.
For their way they're doing their bands, but that's probably the main reason why we are more like the most shows we do are in Germany or like in the neighboring countries, and not on a global scale.
Okay, so kind of a cult act in a way.
Maybe, I don't know, probably.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Now,
beside of that, I think I don't want to get used to it, playing live shows. When you're used to it, that's nothing special anymore.
so it becomes like an everyday thing.
Exactly, and that's something which would the spark should still be there to go on stage.
The kind of excitement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be work.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very. I think it's a very important point to make, to differentiate between like the things you love to do and the things you have to do because it.
Well, that's a very big importance difference.
And music, at least in my opinion as well, is nothing I want to do for work. Never wanted to do for work.
It is always a risk when you start doing it for a living. Then you start calculating, like, do I make enough hit songs?
Yeah,
or
right.
Do I sell enough merchandise?
Do I please the right audience?
Yeah,
And,
pleasing.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, instead of passion, it becomes like, hey, is this something that you dig?
Yeah.
Can you buy this merchandise?
Yeah.
Is it too offensive? Is it like nice?
And that's the point when you lose independence.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to lose that.
Luckily, we do have like.
I'd like to do whatever I want, and not about pleasing someone. It's a personal need to do music. It's a personal need to hang around with my guys and stuff. And it, of course, in some kind, we try to please people who are buying our stuff or whatever, who are really into it, of course. But in the first sight, it's for us.
Yeah.
And beside that, it's not only for us. I have to be that egoistic and say it's for me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I get it because, I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be even doing this if this was only like, hey, buy our latest CD, buy our latest this and that. It would kind of like be very, very, very different. But talking about different bands, like you said, you have different vocal approaches when it comes to different bands. But what else is different when you go for a gig with different, like, is there difference in your mindset when you go for, say, with Endstille or with Morast, for example?
On stage, I don't have any mindset.
Okay.
I even lose my lyrics on stage because I just get in a kind of mood which is some far away. I don't recognize any faces in front of me or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a trip. It's just like a trip.
That's actually very good to hear because sometimes when I go on stage with my bands, I mean, like, I don't feel even myself in a way. Like you said, the faces becomes blurred, and sometimes lyrics, like, what the fuck, they just become like a different animal in a way.
That's true. If you on stage, if you get like self-aware, you lost it to some extent.
Losing the momentum in a way.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So losing yourself by being on stage is the goal of being on stage, I guess.
So there have been so many times when people are claiming about me on stage being drunk or whatever, but I wasn't. It was just I was tumbling and stumbling and whatever because I'm moving on stage.
Yeah.
I try to express something. If I stand right in front of a mic stand and just sing, of course you don't stumble, you know. But when you start moving, everything could happen.
Yeah. You could like really like literally stumble about things, or your legs might have their own mind in a way.
Yeah. But that's life.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You're not standing straight in life by every time. You're stumbling.
There's random elements that can happen.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
That's really, really good because I think there are lots of people who are like passionate about music, passionate about like going to the shows and buying merchandise and listening to a lot of music. But when they don't play themselves, they don't necessarily understand how the creative mind, the artist mind works. And this is maybe the biggest importance. I mean, indifference, understanding like whatever you do on stage, you don't necessarily understand yourself. Do you agree or disagree with this idea?
No, absolutely. But the people in the audience changed a lot. As you know, you're probably the same age. When we were young and going to concert, it was about freaking out, you know. Yeah. But nowadays, it's about standing there and just really enjoying the stuff, what's happening and that's the point when it starts to get entertainment. I'm not an entertainer, you know. I want the people to join, of course, but they should please their own needs and get themselves out. Let emotions free. I'd rather see people freaking out in front of me instead of enjoying me.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the main difference nowadays, I think. Which is kind of boring for an artist on stage when you have this side, for example. You know, you're from the punk scene as well. Just freak out, man.
yeah, like be the animal you could be.
Let the emotions flow.
Now, talking of which, have you ever had moments which you kind of regret later on stage, like feeling like I could have done differently or I should have done something differently, or is it always the moment where the possession happens and it is what it is?
Of course there are situations, but it's just like life. Shit happens, you know.
Yeah.
You regret some stupid things, but who cares? It's just like life. You never go straight.
Now you mentioned also like when you start like thinking, you're losing it. So is it more like the bass takes control of you and you just follow what the fuck is happening, or how would you describe the element of being there with the instrument?
It's pretty much what you said. It's like losing myself while playing, and I'm listening, and it's kind of strange feeling because it's like sitting on the tank to some extent. You know, you have like which sounds kind of silly, I know, but it gives you like a feeling of power to some extent, and that's what I want to achieve when I'm on stage, like losing myself and having like this weird feeling with not like really power, but power with the sonic wall in the back, and that's probably my aim, and it helps me of getting rid of myself and being not self-aware in this moment, and I think that's it.
Well, and that's something which got a safe space within the band of Morast. When we are on stage and something went wrong in between us, no one is claiming afterwards. For example, I ran into one space and it's out of tune or whatever. Of course, I say sorry afterwards, but I just know that he wouldn't be any angry or whatever because he wasn't playing a perfect show, because it's just like that, you know.
So it happens in the heat of moment.
Exactly. We're on stage, we are dangerous, and we are on stage dangerous for ourselves. And no one is claiming about anything. It's just about just kick it. If it kicks, it's all fine.
And that's what people appreciate seeing Morast live, because it's probably not, sometimes at least, it's not the most perfect shows of all, but it's real, and that's what we want to achieve, probably all of us, to be like a real experience and a real band for ourselves and for the audience as well. So we wouldn't ever be mad about each other's when something went wrong.
Yeah, I mean it is after all live performance.
Yeah.
And like I said, anything could happen, and if things go south, at least it's authentic, not some broadcast version.
Authenticity is it's probably a right and correct word to describe what we want to be and what we are. Probably, I think we are.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing of Morast as well, to be authentic.
All right.
No rules.
No rules.
But you mentioned the magic couple of words, safe space, which leads us to the world of like cancel culture and everything, and you know how everything, like new generation is like they want the Disney-fied version of like, hey, bring this family friendly and don't let anything bad or evil or nasty shit to happen. And we come from the generation where like that was the normal thing, like heads might bump into one another and there might be some disagreements, but it is extreme metal after all, and nobody has to agree on everything. How do you feel the so-called climate has changed throughout the decades when you have been doing, say, black metal and beyond?
I have one answer for this question. Nowadays, Satan is bored about everything, what's happening here. Probably, as I just described in advance, it's mostly about entertainment for the people. But I don't really care, you know. Just let them do whatever they want, because that's the thing we tried to represent back then. Do what you want, and if it's their way, who cares? I don't compare with it, I don't get into it, and I'm still doing my thing. And that's something which I just said, come on, fuck off. If it's like that, do it like that. I don't care.
Have people tried to cancel you for whatever excuse, for whatever reason? Like, okay, there's this piece of art on the album cover, or there are these lines on the lyrics, or that these guys were too dangerous on stage?
Yeah, of course, especially on Endstille, because we have this war theme, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And people coming up, blah, 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 right-wing stuff, and only about Third Reich. But if you would take a close look, because we're not stupid or whatever, we know what we do.
Yeah.
You know? Of course, there's a lot of provocation in it, but if you take a close look and you're smart enough, you just recognize that there is nothing behind it, because especially in Endstille we use more about monikers of the First World War, for example.
Yep.
So you can't get any swastikas in our layout or whatever, so you can't claim to be us fucking right-wing, because we know what we are talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing which I really want people to just get closer to it, get deeper into it, and not take only this this top of the shit, you know.
Yeah, the surface, just
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, they must be some evil Nazis because they have a black and white war theme. Okay, stamp on it and move on.
Yeah, damn it.
Do you think that people are dumber these days in terms of like how judgmental they are?
Yeah, because it's a total opposite of the thinking of a free mind, you know, having such a dogma kind of thing, thinking about whatever every fascistic movement. It's so narrow-minded, and it's totally different from that what we are standing for. As I said, free will, free mind, just go for it.
All right. What about you? What's your perception of how things have changed over the decades when we're talking about punk and all that stuff prior to the interview and all that stuff? And obviously there are differences how extreme metal is nowadays seen and witnessed.
Definitely, it's different from if compared to like the 80s or 90s. But honestly, I don't care too much. I do enjoy playing bigger shows where like the audience is like you described, being there for entertainment and stuff, but it's not my own scene. So I come from different places, but I don't care too much any longer because at some point you get older, you don't get mad at everything. I could be mad at like things happening like in the punk and hardcore scene and in the extreme metal scene every day, but I just refuse to. I have my friends, I have my people, and I have my surrounding, and I pick and choose, of course. But I don't refuse to be like to play on Wacken.
Yeah.
Because well, it's an experience. So let's go there and see it. I'm not really part of it, but I can go there and see it. And what happens then. And, well, I really don't care too much any longer about like being true or being not true or whatever.
Yeah, that is kind of like something that belongs to the early years when it was important to kind of fit the box in a way. And the older you go, you're like, I don't give a fuck. I don't have time for this nonsense.
Yeah,
and all.
Definitely not. I know where I'm coming from and I know where I am.
You don't have to prove yourself anymore.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. And I don't care if people... Well, it never happened, funny enough. Being cancelled in either context never happened so far, which is kind of funny because all the bands I did always have like could be a big target of being cancelled, but they never been because to some extent probably sometimes I feel like a jester, like you know the guy with the
the funny hat
with the funny hat, because like, we in the band, be it Morast or be it like different than other bands I play in. We can say anything we want and nobody takes it for as an offense. Although we are pretty offensive to some extent.
Now, then you mentioned the Wacken. It was funny. This was more than 10 years ago. I remember that one of the probably most offensive things heard, places like Wacken was actually by Turbo Negro, which is not really a metal band, and they were like making jokes about, like I don't know, probably some Hitler stuff and whatever, like German, like see how many actually get pissed.
Yeah.
And they pretty much showed that punk attitude that like we don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like if you get offended,
true.
like I don't know, go somewhere else. Yeah. Do you think this kind of a punkier, like poking, is gone?
Yeah, I mean, it became that big, so it disappeared to some extent, of course. But I think there's always a place for like young people who don't fit and who don't want to fit, and I'm pretty optimistic. There's still always a place for like of course, always smaller amount of people.
Yeah.
But there's still a place for like real rock and roll, if you want to call it like this, or punk rock, or black metal, or underground music. So I'm pretty optimistic because it's a set of mind, and it's not a thing you want to belong to because it's cool.
Yeah.
Because you have to, and it's what you are, and that's what I think, and what drove me into like being part of subcultures or being interested in subcultures. And I think it's not that because it's human to some people to be different.
Yeah.
So, but the bigger things get, the worse they get most of the time. So that happened to be a punk rock or hardcore or black metal or whatever, because it became big.
Yeah.
And then like the edges are...
Then you start rounding the corners, making it a little bit safer and more like family friendly even.
I mean, fair enough. I do have friends who make a living out of the music, so be it. It's their way. I don't have to be a part of it, and I don't want to. I still have a different approach. So, but the other side is that you have to round the edges and to make it like more slick and more pleasing.
You know, there are a lot of people claiming about this mainstream stuff and blah blah blah. In my opinion, it's the first step, which is still important for our scene. You know, claiming about festival tourism on Wacken or Hellfest or whatever. I think if there are 3,000 people as a festival tourists going to Wacken or whatever you like, and 100 people of those 3,000 go home and say, "Whoa, that was really cool, and I really liked the how you call it, the connection with the people and blah blah," and they say, "This is a cool scene. It's 100 people more we get on our side." No one of us was about 12 years old going to whatever Cannibal Corpse show or whatever. The first step is very important, and we have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it's like the kind of entry-level stuff, basically. Yeah. Before you can go to the very deep level of stuff, you have to dig from the surface, and that's when you start finding the treasures and the bones.
And we need those people.
Of course. Talking about Germany and German bands, obviously, big country, lots of people, and lots of different kind of venues, events, cities, and all that stuff. Germany is partially a little bit different because of historical things happened in the 1940s and all that stuff, and I think there's a kind of a different layer of this how to say, being careful what you can do, what you cannot do, and all that stuff. And of course things have changed. How do you feel about like being a German band? Is it a blessing or is it a curse?
I don't really care about being whatever, you know, I'm just me.
Yeah. But does
for me, it's not a different raising up in Germany or France or. I don't care. Okay,
let me put it this way: is metal more like a global thing for you, in a sense, like it doesn't matter where you come from?
No, of course. We concerning metal, we have our own history, especially in this area here. We are in the Ruhr area with Essen right next to us, which has got Sodom, Creator and stuff, which was really important in the 80s. Of course, there's a history for Germany, but we've been raised with these bands, but I don't think it's got nowadays that importance anymore because of the how can you call it, modern socialization, which is much more easier nowadays than back then.
What about you, traveling to different places and doing gigs? Is there a difference when you play on so-called home turf, whether it's different towns or cities in Germany, doesn't matter, but I mean, is there a difference how you are perceived as, by fans and all that stuff, whether you play in Germany or other parts?
Yeah, but it's not about parts of it's already different if you go 50 kilometers far,
Are there different scenes then in Germany in terms of
probably
metal?
there are.
Okay.
Probably there are. Of course, yeah.
Any favorite memories in terms of going out there with your band and doing the live performances that really, I don't know, made your day?
Hard question, really hard question, because after so many years there have been a lot of special experiences we did. Take one out, well, probably if we're speaking about Van Records or stuff in the beginning, you feel it more, and for me the most special thing was about meeting the people which I'm doing now, and I'm still friends with after 30 years. Meeting them was for me the special kind. plus like Sven and Alex from Ruins of Everast and stuff, and starting the first bands. That's something which really stuck into my head.
All right, nice. What about you? Any certain memories that really like, this is the stuff I can go to my grave and say, my son, take this kind of story. I mean, certain parts that really kind of made it.
Yeah, well, I started to think about it when you asked Singultus, and I think it's pretty hard for me as well to pinpoint and pick out a certain experience. When I have to think about it, I think the first shows after the wall came down in Eastern Germany were pretty intense and pretty wild, and I mean there was almost no rules because people from Eastern Germany enjoyed being like first time in their life feeling free.
Yeah.
And as a band and as a performer, you got the vibe and the atmosphere, and I think this was probably the most intense experience when the Eastern Bloc and especially like Eastern Germany, GDR, came to an end and the wall was open, and you went there like in the very, very early 90s to play shows there, because this and like the surrounding around it, like the scenes growing and evolving. This might be the most intense phase if it comes to my being in bands.
Continuation to that would be, what kind of a legacy you hope to leave behind you when you're like all done, too old, or just dead? I don't know. What kind of legacy will be there of Morast?
I think pretty impressive, dark music and deep music, and people will probably understand even after we are gone, after I am gone, and still want and appreciate it and get the idea what drove us. It's probably a legacy.
So a real continuation. That would be, now before we conclude and all that, now people I hope are like, okay, I need to know more about Morast, but I need to find a starting point for Morast. So what should they start with? What would be the song or the release? If new fans would...
It's an easy question. Probably I've heard somebody, but I won't care. I think it's the last album, definitely.
All right.
Fentanyl should be, and then you can go back and listen to it, because they're all great albums for themselves. But I think like Fentanyl is like so far it's the most important milestone to some extent. So go with Fentanyl.
All right. And
Can we do a shortcut? I need to pee.
all right, shortcut. And this is where you insert some nice music and all that stuff. So, talking about your other bands, now we mentioned already where Morast would be started with and all that stuff. What about Endstille? Which album or even which song people should start with their journey into the world of this war-themed black metal?
As we are so-called AC/DC of black metal, you can start with every
Awesome.
album you want to.
But what other favorite things like this really made an impact in me within the band? I mean, it's sometimes different to find your own favorites as a musician or whatever, but let's give it a go.
Hard question.
I love hard questions. I hate hard questions. I love them.
I don't want to point any album out.
Okay.
No.
So
It's hard to judge your own child, you know.
yeah, exactly. But that's why it's so annoying, an important question, because people should have a starting point.
Okay.
Komm, hau einen raus.
Of course, the latest one is always the best.
The detonation.
Yeah.
Why? By the way,
Because it's something which is really close to the man I am nowadays.
yeah,
And
versus 30 years ago.
So I feel closer to this because it fits me now and not the guy which I was 15 years ago or something.
Which leads us me to the question related to your latest album. Why it's detonation?
It is about it's we did this album in the time of this Corona thing, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a split, and not only on this moniker. There's a lot of things happening in the world nowadays, and we just realized that there's a split between everything. Everything is splitting up. You're about to think what other people have to think and stuff, and if you're not in that way, you're automatically the other way and stuff.
Kind of black and white.
Yeah, that's why we call it, because it's really explosive, and probably the world will blow up in a few years, or maybe nearer, whatever. So especially in Germany, it was very splitted. So this is explosive feeling we've got about society in Germany back then. Was the thing which we called it detonation, and the N of nation is
detonating a nation.
It's a detonated nation. Yeah.
That's a good answer. All right. Before I let you guys go and finish about your drinks and business and all that stuff, let's play a little bit of fortune teller and foresee for a year or two what would happen in the world for Endstille in 26, 27 maybe.
Who knows?
So no plans,
No
all
blurry.
plans. Okay,
Just let
boring
it
band.
Just
Selotki with
no,
my friend
just
Ron
let
here.
Just let it happen, you know. I don't want to do any plans and stuck in it, you know. Maybe on tomorrow something happens which has such an impact on me, and I will leave, for example.
Okay.
Who knows?
Okay.
I don't want to be that.
Very chaotic guy. Very chaotic guy. So what about Mr. Ron here? What will happen with Morast in 26, 27, 28? Who knows?
It's
Plans?
hard to tell as well. We don't have no concrete and fixed plans, but we haven't said it all yet, I think. So I'm quite sure that we will do something in the future, but we don't have no concrete and fixed plans yet.
So no tours, no albums, all blurry.
It's, as Zingulta said, for Endstille, it's probably as blurry as for those people as with Morast as well. So we let it happen.
This is very confusing for a Finnish guy who always thought everything in Germany is very, very strict.
So we are
everything
not
is on
typical
time and all that.
Germans.
And these Germans are like letting my mind go. No, kidding aside. Thank you so much for your times, guys.
Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. And this was very,
Jerry.
very pleasing to me. So here we are in Germany, talking to some fine German gentlemen and gonna see their fine shows. Morast, today when we're filming this, and Endstille the very next day. And I hope that you will see my recap of this whole event so I can actually tell you something about it. And I hope that you will give Artos, the cameraman that is, photos a look. And hopefully you will get to see these bands by yourself someplace. And in case you're wondering how it is in Germany, we have some nice people here, we have some nice beer here, we have some nice bands here. So consider coming to Germany and doing what you should be doing as a metalhead. Be fucking metal, be fucking brutal. This is Endstille and Morast. This is Rauta, Acherontic Arts IV out.
Be your fucking self.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
So it's pretty enjoyable.
Thank you. Before I let you go, let you finish your cigarettes and all that stuff, and then we will take the photo. Photo I will use for...